Greetings, young scientists. This is Mr. Del Prado, and today we're going to review our cell division unit. Greetings, young scientists. This is Mr. Del Prado, and today we're going to review our cell division unit. You might remember when we first went over this, we talked about why your cells divide. And the reason that they divide is, remember, we can't have our cells get too big because it would take too long to get molecules in and out of the cell. Cells will also divide to allow an organism to grow and develop. And remember, your cells, just like a regular human, cells are going to die and they need to be replaced. This is an overview of the cell cycle. Please remember, the cell cycle and mitosis are two separate things. The cell cycle is the whole life cycle of the cell. Mitosis is only when the cell is dividing. So what types of cells divide rapidly? Skin cells are a classic example of that. Your brain and spinal cord cells rarely or never divide because they are stuck in the G0 phase of the cell cycle. So in our cell cycle, the cell spends the majority of its life growing. That is called interphase. Interphase has three substeps to it. The G1 phase is when the cytoplasm increases in the cell. Synthesis phase is when the cell replicates its DNA. And then the G2 phase, when the organelles are doubled as the cell prepares for mitosis. Then in mitosis, we're going to have that prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Mitosis is actually when the DNA ends up dividing, as you see in anaphase. And cytokinesis is going to be the division of the cytoplasm. That would be at the very end of telophase. So if you look at the DNA in the cell, you can see that the DNA is wound around specialized proteins called histone proteins. When the DNA is unraveled in the cell, it's called chromatin, but then as it winds around those histone proteins, it becomes a chromosome. Each replicated chromosome would have two chromatids that have exactly the same DNA. They are joined by a protein in the middle. That protein is called a centromere. In human beings, we have 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs. You get 23 chromosomes from mom, 23 chromosomes from dad. Each one of those pairs are called homologous chromosomes. Those are chromosomes that carry genes for the same traits. So once again, you might get a gene for eye color from mom, a gene for eye color from dad. They're on, let's say, chromosome pair number 3. Those would be homologous chromosomes. 44 out of your 46 chromosomes are going to be your autosomes. They determine everything but your gender. And then the sex chromosomes are going to be the two chromosomes that differentiate between a male and a female. Females have an X chromosome and an X chromosome, two of the same chromosomes. Males have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. The point behind all of these slides that you see here with the elephant and the carp and the pineapple and the adder's tongue fern, and the cobra that you're going to see, and the shrimp that you're going to see, all of those organisms, they all have different numbers of chromosomes. The number of chromosomes does not determine an organism's complexity. For example, a goldfish has 92 chromosomes. You have 46. My bet is on you versus a goldfish in a standardized test. So most of your cells are diploid. They have 2 copies of each chromosome. These are the cells of your body, also known as somatic cells. So if we plucked a cell from your muscle or your nerves, they would end up having 2 pairs of chromosomes, or 2 copies of each chromosome, 23 pairs, 46 total. Your sex cells, however, would only have half the number. They're said to be haploid. They would have 1 copy of each chromosome, or 23 total. So diploid cells carry 2 copies of each chromosome. That's 99% of your cells. Your sex cells, which are the only cells in your body that might join with somebody else's cells, they only have 1 copy of each chromosome, or 23 chromosomes. We're going to talk about cell division in eukaryotic cells. Bacteria cells also divide as well. It's called binary fission. Bacteria cells essentially increase their cytoplasm, they split their DNA, and then it splits into 2 separate cells. You can see the DNA in a bacteria consists of 1 circular chromosome, and that circular chromosome simply divides when the bacteria divides. In our cells, as the cell prepares or goes into mitosis, there are 4 different stages of mitosis: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Interphase is not part of mitosis. Prophase is when the chromatin condenses into chromosomes. The spindle fibers, those are the ropes, are going to form. Metaphase, the chromosomes meet in the middle of the cell. Anaphase, the chromosomes split into their sister chromatids as the spindle fibers pull them apart. Telophase, the cells begin to divide, the nucleus is going to reappear, the spindle fiber disappears, and cytokinesis is part of telophase where the cytoplasm divides. If you look at telophase in those animal cells there, you can see the pinching in of those animal cells. That's called a cleavage furrow. In plant cells, it's the same exact stages, except if you look at telophase there, the plant cells do not pinch in. You get the formation of a cell plate, which eventually forms the cell wall. So just another view of mitosis in animal cells. Again, notice the cleavage furrow there. In telophase, plant cells do not have that. So the stages of mitosis in eukaryotic cells: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Animal cells have the formation of a cleavage furrow. Plant cells get the formation of the cell plate. And that's what we can actually see right there. Your sex cells must cut the chromosome number in half. So they will go through a process called meiosis. Meiosis is very similar to mitosis. The one big difference is we're going to cut our chromosome number in half. A couple terms you should know with meiosis. You should know the difference between a diploid and a haploid cell. You should know that gametes are essentially just your sex cells. Guys, your sperm cells. Ladies, your egg cells. A fertilized egg is called a zygote, and that process of fertilization takes 2 haploid cells and joins them in and makes them 1 diploid cell. So if you look at meiosis here, you can see that during prophase 1, the chromosomes are going to line up next to each other. That's called a tetrad. Them lining up is called synapsis. The chromosomes will touch each other, break off, and become part of other chromosomes. That's called crossing over. That increases the genetic diversity in the offspring. Metaphase, they're going to line up in the middle. That's metaphase 1. Anaphase 1 is the big difference here. In anaphase 1, the whole chromosome goes to the opposite ends of the cell. Telophase 1, you can see the cell is going to prepare to divide. So at the beginning of this, we ended up having 6 chromosomes, and now I'm looking at 2 cells, each with 3 chromosomes. In your cells, it would be 46, getting cut down to 23. Prophase 2 simply takes those 2 haploid cells and splits their chromatids apart, so that the end result is that you get 4 cells, each with unreplicated chromosomes. That is half the number of the original cell. This is just another view of showing meiosis 1 goes from a diploid to 2 haploid cells. Meiosis 2 goes from 2 haploid cells and splits into 4 haploid cells. This is the big picture. For meiosis, your sex cells have to go through this because your sex cells are going to combine potentially with someone else's sex cells, and that child needs to have 46, not 92 chromosomes. These are just the stages of meiosis 1. Big picture is prophase 1, where you have that crossing over. Anaphase 1, where the homologous chromosomes separate. You're still going to have cytokinesis in meiosis 1, and you're also then going to have the division of the 1 cell into 2 cells. There is meiosis 1. There's an overview of it. Prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. There's another picture of interphase, and then prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1. Okay, you can now see this is meiosis 2, where we take the 2 cells that were made in meiosis 1, and they just go through regular old cell division. Meiosis 2 and mitosis are the same exact thing. The end result, though, is that you end up getting 4 cells. This is just another view of meiosis 2, where you can see prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, telophase 2. You're going to end up getting 4 haploid cells. If you are male, you'll end up getting 4 spermatids. If you're female, you'll get those 3 polar bodies. Those are the 3 unusable small cells and 1 gigantic egg cell. Either way, any one of these cells would be haploid. They would end up having 23 chromosomes. So meiosis 1 is 1 cell splitting into 2 haploid cells. Meiosis 2, 2 haploid cells splitting into 4 haploid cells. I hope this review was helpful, and good luck on your exam. Thanks.